Okay, y'all. So I wanted to come on here and do a video discussing this incident that occurred this morning where the man you see here on the screen, I don't really know if I can call him a man because this is like a demon seed. This is a monster. Took out 8 children as well as wounding 2 other adult women, one of which was the children's mother, and I believe either it was his current wife or ex-wife, the mother of at least 4 of the children. I believe the other children belonged to the wife's sister from the news report. This occurred in Shreveport, Louisiana this morning, about 6 a.m. This individual that you see here on the screen was having some sort of domestic dispute with the wife. It appears that she was looking to separate from him and he wasn't taking kindly to that news, and thus he ended up coming up on her and the children. And he was responsible for a shooting and then a carjacking a vehicle following the incident. He was chased by the police. He was unalived on site by the police, which, not gonna lie, like, part of me wishes that he was apprehended and was forced to face judgment and going to jail. But at the same time, I also understand that when you've committed as horrific as a crime as he did, and you're in hot pursuit with the police, and you're acting like a wild animal, more often than not, they're going to treat you like a wild animal and they're going to put you down, right? So I can't really fault the police for taking him out. I really can't. But it would have been nice to see him have to stand trial and go to prison for his horrific crimes. I wanted to talk about this story on my channel because I feel like it touches on so many things that I've covered already as it relates to just this matrix that we exist in, this hell realm, this the patriarchal system that governs this realm and allows for males like this to thrive. You know, it gives birth to these males, even despite their own dysfunction, because I also want to note that this individual had a history of violent crimes. He was previously arrested back in 2019 for shooting around either it was like an elementary school or like an area in which children were actively playing. He opened fire in the vicinity of an area like that. He didn't serve any real jail time, but he was apprehended. Right. That alone, like him having that offense on his record, that alone should, in my opinion, have turned off any woman from wanting to deal with him, right? But that happened in 2019, and this individual still went on to have multiple children, get married to someone. So there was still a woman willing to lay down with him, to procreate with him, having full knowledge, I'm sure, of his past, right? Of his violent past. And this is kind of what I wanted to speak on as it relates to what I see as a constant theme, specifically in the Black community as of late, as I'm sure maybe some of my subscribers know, maybe not. I know that everybody that subscribed to me isn't Black, but as of recent, we have seen a lot of spikes as it relates to Black femicide, a lot of Black women, children, mothers, daughters being taken out by men. Right. There's a super viral story going on right now of a young Black woman that was reported as having unalived herself abroad. And that's kind of taken up most of the headlines, unfortunately. While not as much emphasis has also been put on all of these other Black women that have also been taken out recently by their significant others. And that's absolutely flat out taken out by them. There was the former lieutenant governor of Virginia that recently took out his wife while he was home. The children were home as well. The children actually called the police to report what was happening. I believe the children also discovered their bodies, which was awful. And one thing I'm seeing, in the response to these occurrences is that I'm looking online and I'm seeing, on TikTok, all social media sites, TikTok, forums, Twitter, it's always the same, rhetoric of, it's either a blanketed thoughts and prayers or it's people claiming that they're shocked or they're so surprised or they don't understand what's going on, or, oh, mental health, this or that. And this is not to say that mental health may not be an issue at play. I'm sure it is to an extent. However, I don't understand this concept of people being surprised, specifically within the Black community, when it comes to the unalivings of Black women, Black girls. As you can see here on the screen, this man had several children, and it's not lost on me that of the makeup of his children, or the children that were lost in this scenario, majority of them were girls, right? And then he also attempted to take out the mother and even the mother's sister. So to me, that is an open, blatant attack on the Black feminine, right? The Black feminine woman. There's a creator on here by the name of Flora Byrne, who I've been following for years now. And she did a video, I want to say either last week or a couple days ago, where she set out the alert. She raised the flag, informing people that women are going to have to be very vigilant and keep their head on a swivel, because these males are unhinged and there is open attack, or it's open season right now on the woman, on the feminine. And women are in a very vulnerable state right now. These were some downloads that she received. Flora Byrne is a contactee, so these were downloads that she received from the Andromedans about things to come in the next couple of weeks, and a lot of the energies that we're going to see manifesting. And she was super spot on, right? And this is something that we're seeing. It's always been a constant basis when it comes to Black femicide. I believe the numbers out there is a Black woman in as far as the domestic violence rates, a Black woman in the United States is unalived every 4 hours, right? 4 to 5 hours. By their domestic partner. And this has been an issue, right? And I remember seeing a video where this content creator I've mentioned before, Schizodumps, he was talking about we live in a realm of forgetfulness, right? And I think when it comes to the Black community specifically, I feel like there is just there's so many factors in play, but there's an NPCification that has occurred with Black people. There is this thing where the Black community specifically, in America, is living and existing in a hell realm of forgetfulness. A hell realm of forgetfulness and perpetual surprise. There's this thing where every time one of these incidents occurs, you will have an outpouring of people, mainly Black women. I don't see Black males openly discussing a lot of these things unless it's a scenario where they can skirt blame, or it involves another male that isn't Black, and then they can kind of point fingers. But I don't see them participate in these discussions as much. But when it's Black women commenting on it, they're always talking about how they're so shocked and they're so surprised that some man went in and annihilated his whole family. You know what I mean? They're so surprised, and it's how are you really surprised that this happened? I saw so many comments of people saying, what's going on with Black men? Family annihilation is not something that they usually do. That's something that white men are known to do. And it's since when? From what I've observed, it's always been the violent state within the Black community has always been ever present, for decades now, right? And we've had so many instances in the past where these kinds of male family annihilators have existed, and maybe they weren't necessarily referred to as family annihilators because a lot of times the men weren't actually married to the women. The women were just their baby mamas. But nonetheless, it was always a common occurrence, right? I remember there was a story a couple years back of this guy who claimed that he had come under he's heard some voices that told him to unalive his wife, daughter. He had a son and a daughter. The son is the only one who survived the whole thing. And he actually ended up testifying against the guy in court. And the guy represented himself in court. He was a certified lunatic. This man unalived his wife. He unalived his daughter, which is very common occurrence. So I will say a lot of times when you see these instances occurring, they'll usually unalive the wife or girlfriend and the girl children, and they usually spare the sons. I don't want to say I don't know why that is. I feel like I do know why it is. There is more of an open attack on the feminine. But in this scenario, he also burned the house down. Right, that occurred. There was also the case not too long ago of like the man who was like a lawyer or a judge. His wife was also an attorney. He unalived her and their children. That happened out in LA. This is not something that is like super unique to one specific race of people. This behavior pattern isn't, super unique to one group of people. And sometimes when I come across these stories like this that happened this morning with a man who eviscerated not only his family, but also an adjacent family to his wife's, right, by also taking out the wife's sister's children. When I come across these stories and I see people in the same community reacting to them and acting like they're so shocked or they're so surprised, it's like, how are you genuinely shocked and surprised at the behavior of a group of people that are violent in their communities, like the communities that they exist in, the low trust, zero trust communities they exist in are built on violence, built on crime. Right? Crime and violence thrive there. There's a no snitching culture, which encourages you to not tell the police when crimes have been committed, right? It's a culture that where a Black woman gets shot and she's made out to be a liar, and the male that shot her is made out to be a saint, and all these conspiracy theories are surrounding the shooting, claiming that a record label is trying to take this individual out, when prior to the shooting, majority of people weren't even actively listening to that artist that they're claiming was this saint and was being taken out by the government and being brought down by the government by Megan Thee Stallion. Like, that's the kind of like nonsensical mindset that is like ever present in the Black community as it is surrounding like violence and crime. This is a community that has music that is heavily centered around violence and murder, and it's the degradation of women, the violent attacks on other males, right? Least we forget, this is also a community where at one particular point in time, the male group of the community's top reasons for death was actually homicide, which is actually absurd when you consider that most groups it's things like heart conditions, diabetes, whatever, something like that. But in their case, it literally is the top reasons for them dying. This is the male group. This is Black males. The top reasons for them not living long or dying prematurely was due to homicide. They're more likely to be unalived by another Black male than they are to dying from heart disease, right? And it's interesting to know that, to know all of that, and then have the same people within the community hear these stories or see these stories come out in the news, and then they will be shocked. They will be shocked. They will be saying, oh my God, I can't believe, I don't understand. I don't know what's going on. Oh my God, everybody has to protect your mental health. And, I don't know what's happening, with these Black men, and, something's got to change. And I'm just so shocked, and I'm so surprised, and I can't believe this. And it's like, really? Because I can believe it, because I've seen it happen, like over 1,000 times at this point. Like I've seen it happen, right? And I have to wonder, is there a collective absence of pattern recognition, right? Is there a lack of living in reality, right? I have to wonder, is there a prevalence of delusion occurring with most Black people in the community that has them not acknowledging things for as they are, or refusing to see things as they are, and name the real problems that are ever present. And, looking at Black women, I and this is something that I question all the time, and I mentioned it briefly in my antinatalism video, but when I see the level of the cyclical level of dysfunction and degeneracy that occurs within the Black community, it does make me wonder, what is it about the current state of it that makes them think, oh, it's a really good idea to bring more Black children here to suffer? And there's a content creator on here named Against Life, and she did a really good video, I think it was a while back, where she was like, Black people in this realm are addicted to suffering. And I have to agree with that. I have to look at the current state of the Black community, and I would have to agree with that, right? And that's with me not even experiencing any of that growing up and not having to deal with that in my household, but I'm not blind, right? I'm cognizant of what's happening around me. I'm cognizant of what's happening to those in my family, or those that I'm friends with, or those that I know through other people, right? I look at the news, I'm aware of that, right? So I can't look at the state of the world and pretend that that's not happening. But I really feel like there's it's like a collective cognitive dissonance that is occurring with the average Black person in America, where they are refusing to see the state of the Black community for what it is and acknowledging it. And it could be to a point, it could be that maybe it's because they don't see it as abnormal. I did consider that. I did consider the fact that, and this goes back to my zero trust or low trust environment video. When you have a significant portion of the population living in low trust environment or spaces, or even if they're not living in a low trust environment, if they're actively frequenting low trust, zero trust spaces, then it would make sense to why you're constantly in survival mode. You're constantly on guard. And chaos and violence is very normal. It's a very normal, natural state to you. So you don't know any different. You don't know that the way that you're interacting with life is abnormal or unhealthy for not only yourself, for other people. You don't realize that, right? Due to your upbringing, your surroundings, your immediate surroundings. So to you, it's not strange, right? With the Ice Spice thing, there were so many people saying, Ice, I can't believe Isis didn't, why she's from the Bronx, she should know how to fight. Should she? Why does the Bronx require you to be able to know how to fight? Fighting is not normal. We're supposed to be an elevated species, right? As humans, right? We're not supposed to be having to fight on a day-to-day basis, right? If we're supposed to be a superior species in the sense of we walk upwardly, we think broadly, we have ways of communicating with one another to resolve conflict. Why wouldn't we just use that instead of actually physically putting hands on someone and causing them any kind of bodily harm, especially unprovoked? Why would that be something that we all inherently need to know how to do on demand when we're in a fast food establishment eating, right? When we're in a place at our leisure, we shouldn't have to be on go like that. But the fact that there was such a large amount of individuals, Black people, Black women online stating that they did not understand why she wasn't better equipped to fight that girl, or why she didn't get up, or why they were placing all this blame on ISIS for her not being as ready as they wanted her to be to fight. There was so much more emphasis on that versus why did this girl come up to her and try to attack her in the first place? What was mentally wrong with that girl? What was the driving force between that girl? That's not normal, right? I didn't see enough people upset about a hood booger wannabe gang banging chick assaulting a stranger. There was not enough emphasis on that. Instead, it was all about how she reacted. It was all about how ISIS reacted to it in the moment. And that's what I mean when I say I feel like the Black community is in a hell realm of like constant chaos and like violence and destruction and degeneracy and forgetfulness, willful forgetfulness, right? Because it's also a community that encourages not judging someone based on their past and taking someone at face value based off of who they present themselves as at the moment, right? This is a overly forgiving community due to a lot of religious indoctrination, right? This is a community that encourages you to forgive individuals that have harmed you and actually looks down on you for not being willing to forgive someone that has wronged you, right? I talked about this in my consent video, right? That is literally upside down thinking, right? People talk about the upside down world. The Black community exists within the upside down world. Right is wrong, right? Criminals, drug dealers, rapists, ex-traffickers, all of those like people that will be considered the dredges of society, low rung, low value individuals of society are placed on a pedestal within the Black community. It exists within an upside down world, hell realm of forgetfulness, perpetual surprise, violent degeneracy, right? And if I say all that, and I've already said all that, but people within the community will listen to me hear all of, they will hear me say all of that, and instead of digesting it and fully comprehending it, they will say that is like what everything that I'm repeating is just racist or that it's like white supremacist rhetoric or thinking, or they will write it off as just not like, I won't say, they won't say it was outright nonsense, but they'll just come up with some excuse for why everything that I'm saying isn't exact, or it's not true, or it's true, but it's because of post-traumatic slave syndrome. It's because of years of white supremacy and racial indoctrination. They'll give a litany of excuses to why the community is structured the way that it is and functions the way that it is, in order to avoid accountability. Like, they'll do all of that, but they won't be able to provide a solution for changing it or making it better. They will just give a bunch of excuses. And that's typical. And a lot of times I don't even engage with people that come back with a bunch of those excuses because I'm so used to them. I've heard them so many times. Again, like when you've reached a certain level of self-actualization and awareness, you naturally recognize patterns. When you're not an NPC, you recognize patterns. When you're an intuitive individual, you are able to recognize the pattern of others around you. You know how they're going to respond to you. You know the excuses that they're going to use. You know that this story is going to trend for a day or two, and then it's going to go away. And then within the news cycle, another horrific story of a Black male unaliving a bunch of women, children, whatever, will come out. And then everybody will be shocked and surprised and thoughts and prayers. And then it'll go away after a couple days, and then another story will come out, and then the cycle is just gonna keep repeating. It's just gonna keep repeating. It's just gonna keep repeating, and then 5 to 10 years from now, you're still gonna have people talking about how they just don't understand what's wrong with the male and why does this keep occurring, and people need to really prioritize mental health. Like that's gonna keep happening. That's gonna keep happening. So, yeah, I feel like I made my point for this video. The point of this video was to just point out that the Black community exists within an upside down world, a hell realm of forgetfulness and perpetual surprise. And I think for those that have the awareness of that, we know the primary solution to ending the problem. And that it would involve, an antinatalist mindset, or a child, at least at minimum, a child-free mindset, just to kind of just slow this thing down and just kind of let it die, basically, for lack of better words. But we also know that that's probably never going to happen, right? Because you have so many individuals within this demographic that are not living in reality.